1934, Schumpeter observed that financial markets play a significant role in the economic development process by improving capital allocation. Further studies explain financial markets help channel funds to the most efficient investors and foster entrepreneurial advancements. Let's drill down. Another added layer of the literature argues that financial development actually follows economic growth rather than vice versa. Let's drill down again. Quantitatively, like I said before, there are many studies that have been done using different methods to verify the effects of financial markets on the economy, like analyzing sample data from large cross-sections of countries, exploring financial intermediation as a function of time, as a function of region, as a function of its regulatory framework. So what you can gather from these numerous articles that I read was that in general there are three theories. We have the bank-based theory, market-based theory, and financial services theory. Bank-based believe that banks add to the economic growth by forming long-term relationships with firms. Market-based emphasize the market's ability to reduce inefficiencies associated with banks, and financial services markets are necessary to assess the potential investment opportunities, exert corporate control, facilitate risk management, and enhance liquidity and act as a savings vehicle. Like I said before, in less developed countries, this is a different animal, different literature, saying different things. This literature explores the effectiveness of markets where the economic and political environments do not support the intended effects of financial sector development. You have some that say stock markets yield little economic benefit in developing countries because they increase segmentation of capital markets and decrease wealth allocation. The more balanced literature says, hey look, financial markets in LDCs, less developed countries, are neither panacea nor antagonists of development. Actually, they reveal a positive correlation between stock markets and investment activity, but it's other issues that LDCs have. Low liquidity, wealth allocation, costs, etc., etc. All in all, proponents of financial markets and LDCs say that stock markets can be a crucial vehicle for channeling savings into investments in an unstable macroeconomic environment. The literature gets more sparse as we drill towards country-specific investigations. But here are some of the highlights. What they wrote about South Africa. The rise of the middle class also saw black ownership of companies listed on the JSE increase from 5% in 2003 to 23.8% in 2008. And for Kenya, the key to unlocking Kenya's economic potential hinges on the importance of domestic investors. So then, in order to plant my seed, add my contribution, add another layer to the existing body of literature, this research was designed to study investors and non-investors from Kenya and South Africa. I used Kenya because it was a developing country, and South Africa represented a relatively stable and productive nation on the continent. Survey questionnaires were used in tandem with the focus groups in Kenya. This method was called qualitative sampling, which is often used by researchers to either encompass diversity within a group or, in this case, compose a structured rather than random sample. Also, interviews with economists and even a business reporter were used as my primary data sources for Kenya. In South Africa, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go this time. Email correspondence had to work. So I emailed with members of an investment club, and I had some one-on-one interviews with investment professionals here and some other seasoned investors for my primary data. Then, based on the survey responses that I received that placed participants in one of two categories, either investor or non-investor. Your handout, hopefully everyone has it. I'm just going to run through some, not all of the data points that I was able to collect. But this will at least show you some of the sample characteristics of the participants in Kenya that I was able to facilitate a focus group for, and some that actually emailed me from South Africa. For the Kenyan investors in Figure 1 of your handout, an age was about 18 to 44, non-investors 18 to 34-ish. Marital status, only 2 were married in the investor population, and for non-investors, they were all single. Level of education, Figure 5, I think on the first page of your handout, they all had bachelor's degrees, and for the non-investors, even one had a master's degree. So as you can see, it was a very structured, very focused group. For the financial characteristics, the monthly income level, which I wrote in the currency of Kenyan shillings, for the investors and for the non-investors, it was low to moderate. They were low to moderate earners. Interestingly, stock market familiarity, which I was very interested in. For the investors, most were at least somewhat familiar, and for the non-investors, it was a bit more diverse, as you would expect. Their impetus for investing, investors have mentioned some form of wealth accumulation. They wanted to be rich. I mean, those Kenyans really, really wanted to be rich. And so I asked, Table 5, you will see, while I was in my focus group, if you came into $1 million shilling, about $60,000, somewhere thereabouts today, what would you do with it? None mentioned consumption. They all said that they would invest. Some of the perspectives. Figure 16, 17, 19, 21, 22 in your handout. The impact of investing, when I asked, was generally split between, some say I just feel poor. Others, more optimistic. Then I asked, do you know any other investors? Everybody. Investors, non-investors, yes. Everybody I know invests. Some even mentioned a few. Neighbor, cousin, sister. So what challenges, I asked, what challenges are associated with investing? Dealing with stockbrokers, central and key theme throughout this whole entire project. And lack of regulation. So then what benefits? For investors, long-term wealth accumulation. That's what they said. Funny. I said, well, what motivated you in the first place? Long-term wealth accumulation. That's what they said. On the non-investor side, since they hadn't invested, I said, what did you hear about the market? Tell me a little bit of hearsay. It was risky, corrupt, not for the poor, only for the rich. But then I said, well, why don't you invest? Because we don't have any money. I can understand that. In South Africa, like I said before, these were email responses, but the age and gender of those that participated was between 18 and 24, a bit younger, and it was relatively an even mix of males and females. Sorry, I did forget to say, in Kenya, they're all males for the participants. Their level of education, back to South Africa, all listed bachelor's degrees as their highest level. Employment, figure 34 on your handout, you will see that all were some form of profession. Even the one that listed retail, she owned the store, actually made the most out of everybody there. Stock market familiarity, all claimed in South Africa, all claimed to be at least somewhat familiar with the stock market. So again, I asked, well, what are your goals? Well, I typed, what are your goals, financial goals? The investor ran a gamut. She wanted to save for a wedding. She wanted to erase debt. It's table 8 in your handout. And for non-investors, ran a gamut as well. So just like I did for Kenya, for South Africa, I said, well, how do you feel about the stock market? Tell me. Non-investor said she was afraid to invest, and she felt that the stock market was only for the rich. But on the other side, the investor said that it was a way to gain wealth, but of course it was a volatile and risky affair. I then asked, well, what impact do you think that the stock market has on your community? The non-investor said it's stimulating to the economy and that it increases, expands the middle class. The investor, no effect. We're in a recession. I'm feeling it. She's feeling it. And I said, if you receive 1 million rand, what would you do? Both said, invest. Next. I'm almost there. Next, using the survey and focus group data in conjunction with interviews and research on historical and current policies, the project analyzed the stock exchange's influence at 3 levels of society: government, community, all the way down to the citizens themselves. For the government, Kenyanization for Kenya. Kenyanization set the stage for increased domestic participation through a combination of investor and market-friendly policies. I won't give you an example because you're Russian. Community. According to the findings, the media has played a large part in Kenya's market awareness, utilizing newspaper and television advertisement to disseminate new financial opportunities. In contrast, local businesses, they generally were not affected. On the individual level, government policies did such a good job attracting Kenyan investors that most Kenyans, despite their income bracket, education, know-how, they know and utilize the stock market because they heard stories about it. This has created 2 types of investors, educated and uneducated. The educated know the intent and purpose of the market, and the uneducated invest for quick bucks. On the South Africa side, for the government, soon after 1994, the JSE sought to increase standards of its brokers, add a new news service, establish a new system of settling trades, migrated to a new trading system, and had a technological alliance with the LSE, London Stock Exchange. It was not until 2003 that the JSE shifted its focus from rebranding to actually implementing inclusionary policies. And so today, the South African government explicitly entices new investor participation. But policies like the BEE has caused a bit of a stir. Some say the policies have broadened the base of individuals experiencing benefits of ownership, and others say there is absolutely no correlation between the BEE and any sort of investment activities for South Africans. Businesses have shown a reaction to the new legislation. I'll give you an example if you ask. Let's go down to the individuals. First, importantly, the idea of investing in South Africa, it occupies dual meanings. Rural dwelling citizens say, all right, I'll invest, give me a cow. They invest in livestock, not company stock, like urbanites. But even in the urban setting, the idea of investing splits again. from passive investing versus proactive investing. Passive investors are those blue